Welcome to the Military Money Manual Podcast, where every episode is all about achieving financial independence in the military faster than before. We believe personal finance shouldn't be boring or intimidating. Building wealth can be simple, and financial freedom is the ultimate financial goal. Now, here's your hosts, Spencer and Jamie.
If you're interested in learning more about military travel hacking, pay attention. I created a 100% free course, the Ultimate Military Credit Cards course, to show you how to get premium luxury travel rewards credit cards and pay no annual fees. You can sign up right now at militarymoneymanual.com/UMC3, and I'll send you the first day of the course immediately.
We're talking about cards like the Platinum Card from American Express, the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card, and luxury hotel credit cards like the American Express Hilton Honors Aspire Card.
The Ultimate Military Credit Cards course is 100% free to you. I explain how to verify your eligibility for annual fee waivers with the Military Lending Act, or MLA. I've run the course for over 5 years now, and we just celebrated our 10,000th graduate. Our graduates of the Ultimate Military Credit Card course have saved over $10 million in credit card annual fees. On a personal note, my wife and I receive over $12,000 of annual fee waivers every single year.
The Ultimate Military Credit Cards course is an absolute beginner's guide to travel hacking and opening up your first annual fee waive credit card while you or your spouse is in the military. There's no spam, no fluff. The only emails you'll get from me are related to the credit card course, and you can subscribe at any time and there's no cost to you. You can sign up for free right now at militarymoneymanual.com/UMC3.
Again, that's militarymoneymanual.com/UMC3. Hello, podcast listeners, and welcome to the Military Money Manual Podcast. I'm Spencer Reese from militarymoneymanual.com. Today, I'm joined in person with my co-host, Jamie. Hey, Jamie.
Hey, Spencer. Good to see you.
Today, we're talking about a halfway check, what you should be thinking about halfway through the year. So it's July. I Googled this, but July 2nd is technically kind of the halfway point of 2023. And today, Jamie, we're going to talk about a few topics, a few ideas of what people should be thinking about for the second half of the year.
Yep. So we've done past 2 years, end of year review episodes and kind of beginning of the year goal setting. So halfway through the year is a great point to, first of all, look at your goals that you set at the beginning of last year, at the beginning of this year, and see how your progress is going. Are you meeting those goals? Do you need to adjust your goals? Do you need to readjust your spending or savings to meet those goals? And basically just look at seeing what was important to me 6 months ago and how am I doing on that? So it could be, do I need to save more? Do I need to tighten down my budget? We're not advocating and saying you stop spending. It's just, what did you think was important 6 months ago and how are you doing towards that goal now? Halfway through the year, you should have a pretty good gauge on if you're going to make it this year.
My wife probably wants me to stop spending, but...
Probably. We also, having just PCS, our spending is just insane right now. So it'd probably be good for us to get that in control.
Actually, it's interesting you brought that up because that's one thing that I've looked at. And I signed up for Mint at the beginning of the year because I really wanted to kind of get a handle on, I feel like I kind of lost track of where my money was going, where for the past couple of years, I haven't really budgeted because I had everything kind of dialed in. And there were some big lifestyle changes this year with a new job and moving. And I just didn't know where my money was going anymore. Yeah. So I signed back up for Mint. And some months, it was a little shocking how high the numbers were. But when you start digging into it, as long as it's aligning with your values, it's hard to say that was wasteful.
Yeah. But one of the things that if, say, for example, you set the goal of wanting to max out my Roth IRA for the first time this year, in 2023, it's $6,500 is your max for the year. And if you haven't now into July of 2023, if you haven't contributed $3,800 to your goal of maxing your Roth IRA out, then you know that maybe it doesn't align with your values. And maybe you need to reevaluate what we said was important, maybe together as a couple or with my partner. Our goal was this, and now we've only contributed $1,000 to our goal of $6,500, and you're well behind glide slope at that point.
Right.
And same for the TSP. If you're looking at $22,500 for the year, then what is that? 13?
Yeah, I think we calculated $13,125.
So it's a very black and white objective numbers as if I'm doing okay halfway through the year.
Yeah. And I think if I've got this chart on my website where you can you can put in, you can just look up your grade and years, and it tells you how much you should be contributing every month to the TSP. And in order to max it out by the end of the year, if you've put that number in December last year, so it kicked in January of this year, then you should be on cruise control and you should be ready to go. And really what you should be thinking about is, okay, what number am I going to be putting in December of this year? So then 2024, I can max out my TSP again. Some of the other things, Jamie, that people often talk to us about are savings, and not just saving for retirement, right, in the IRA and the TSP, but with the summer PCS season, maybe you've tapped a lot of your savings. Maybe you were good and you set money aside to move across the world and move across the country or across the state. And now you realize maybe I'm a little cash strapped right now and I got to rebuild the stash, especially when it comes to emergency funds.
Yeah.
It's really easy for everything to become an emergency, especially when you're in the summer PCS season. And I get it. Like, we tapped our emergency fund and it always seems like it doesn't rain, but it pours, right? Like, all of a sudden, like, not only are you PCSing, but your car breaks down. And, oh, by the way, there's a death in the family and now you got to fly to a funeral, right? And there's so many things happening all at once. And when you have the money set aside, it's great because it does remove that little bit of stress. But when you kind of get through the storm, you have to kind of look, okay, what damage was done and how are we going to rebuild that emergency fund?
Yeah. And if you need to temporarily lower your TSP or IRA contributions to build that back up, that might not be a terrible plan for you and your family. Just evaluate what matters most to you now. Another thing I like to do halfway through is it's a good time to pull your credit report. You can go to annualcreditreport.com, and it's the one that the government sponsors to make sure each of the 3 bureaus give you a free credit report, and you can see, make sure no new accounts have been opened that you weren't expecting or anything like that. Whether you want to check your score or not, there's plenty of ways to do that for free, but at least getting a credit report of the accounts and new accounts especially is a good time to review at the middle of the year.
Yeah. And speaking of summer PCS season, if you've moved to a new state, maybe you're now in an income tax-free state. So that could be Florida, could be Texas, could be Washington State. And maybe you're moving from a state where you were paying state income taxes. And this could be a great opportunity if you have the intention of residing in that state after you leave active duty service, go to your finance office, file the paperwork. It's a simple 1-page form, and declare your state of residency to be in the state that you're now residing. And you can reduce your state income taxes. And the great thing about that is if you have a spouse that works, thanks to the Military Spouse Residency Relief Act, and you can Google this and look at Military OneSource as a great resource on this, but they can also declare their state of residence to be your state of residence, and then you guys can both save on state income taxes.
Yeah.
So if you've moved recently or you have a move coming up, take a look into this and take advantage of the fact that the military moves you around a lot, and you'll probably run into a state where you don't have to pay state income taxes, and the bar to setting up your residency there is very low. You don't need to have a driver's license. You don't need to have a car registered there. You don't need to have a house there. You just have to have the intent to reside in that state after you leave active duty service. And that's a pretty easy hurdle to cross.
Yeah. Another thing I like to do at the midway point is look out to the future. So some things coming up, maybe a big vacation or Christmas gifts, whatever you're saving for the rest of the year, you can just analyze, are we on track to meet our targets? Back to school time is coming in a couple weeks or a couple months for most people with kids. So new school uniforms, new books, new school supplies, all those things that come with back to school time, and start setting aside for those goals now so you're not caught off guard, dipping in emergency savings or being tempted to in a few weeks.
Yeah, and the final thing I'll mention, Jamie, is since we're doing this kind of mid-year review anyways, is why not take a look at your estate documents, and it doesn't have to be your full will, it doesn't have to be your advanced medical directive, but just take a look at your SGLI. In the Air Force, we have this thing called VRED. Make sure that's updated. Make sure your beneficiaries are properly designated. So in case, God forbid, anything happens to you, it's going to be easier for your family to sort out what to do after the fact. And also make sure that if especially, we're talking a lot about PCS here because people are moving over the summer, but look at your insurance. If you've moved states or you moved overseas, you got to update your insurance. You got to make sure that your vehicles are insured at the place that the vehicle resides. Even if your state of residency, like for me, it was back in Texas. I was living in Hawaii, and you just got to tell USAA or Geico, whoever you have your insurance through, hey, the vehicle lives here, and so I need insurance in this state. Remember, it's the vehicle that's insured, and the driver attached the vehicle, but really it's the vehicle that's insured. And actually, I just learned about this recently because I had a bunch of friends coming over and borrowing my car. And I was like, how does insurance work? Like some of them are foreign. Like they don't have, US insurance. It's vehicle that's insured. It's not necessarily. And if I let somebody borrow the vehicle, my insurance covers them.
Nice.
So, but yeah, those are some things I'm thinking about kind of at the mid-year review. Anything else you want to add to that, Jamie?
No, those are all great tips, Spencer. Thanks for helping walk through the mid-year point review. Holidays and big spending things like Christmas gifts and holiday season will be here before you know it. And so just as always, we encourage you to bring awareness to your financial situation, plan ahead, be intentional, and take ownership of it. That way there's less stress involved in PCSing or holiday gifts, being generous with your money, back to school time. We don't want these big crunch points to be stressful for you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Military Money Manual podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. This helps others find the show, and we really appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
This episode is brought to you by my favorite military personal finance book, The Military Money Manual, a practical guide to financial freedom, written by our very own Spencer Reese.
That's right, Jamie. I wrote this book because I wish someone had handed me a book like this on my first day in the military. There were no personal finance books written specifically for military service members. So I decided to change that and write the book. In this book, I explain the exact money tactics and investing strategies that enabled me to achieve financial independence while I served in the U.S. Air Force.
So Spencer, who is this book for?
If you're in the military, and we're talking about Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, Marines, whether you're active duty, guard, reserve, enlisted, officer, a military spouse, a cadet, it doesn't matter which branch of the armed forces you are in. I wrote this book specifically for you. In addition, any ROTC or Academy cadet or midshipman would also benefit from the game plan for financial success that I lay out in the book.
With dozens of 5-star reviews on Amazon and hundreds of happy readers, it's no wonder that the Military Money Manual was selected by the U.S. Air Force Academy Association of Graduates as a parting gift for the class of 2023. Ryan from Goodreads.com says, the most comprehensive investing personal finance book written specifically for military members I've read so far. This book should be handed to every new lieutenant at commissioning. On Amazon.com, Matt reviewed, this book should be on the Commandant's reading list. And lastly, Jonathan on Amazon said, this is the book I wish I read when I joined.
The Military Money Manual is available on Amazon, Audible, and my website in hardcover, paperback, ebook, Kindle, and audiobook. Podcast listeners are eligible for a special discount by using promo code PODCAST when you purchase the Military Money Manual on shop.militarymoneymanual.com.
Again, that's the Military Money Manual, available on Amazon and shop.militarymoneymanual.com with promo code PODCAST. The views and opinions presented here are those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent the views of the DoD or its components. Reference to any commercial products or services does not constitute DoD endorsement of those products or services.